How do I manage my anxiety? Tools and methods to handle anxiety. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, anxiety is one of the most common mental health conditions in America. Almost 20% of Americans have an anxiety disorder. That's a big number, but it also means that you're not alone if you're experiencing anxiety. Hi, I'm Melissa Hummelt, LPCC, a therapist here at BetterHelp. Today I'm talking about how to manage a very common mental health concern, and that is anxiety. What is anxiety? If you look up the word anxiety in the thesaurus, you might find so-called synonyms like fear, nervousness, or stress. Anxiety really isn't any of these things, though. It's an animal all on its own. And if you've ever had anxiety symptoms, you know it's not a friendly one. In fact, it's really challenging to describe anxiety unless you've experienced it yourself. Anxiety is a combination of physical and emotional symptoms that cause a great deal of unease and distress. What is the difference between fear and anxiety? In many cases, anxiety can feel a lot like fear. The difference may be in the timing. If there's a real threat in front of you, like a snake slithering out of the woods and onto your path, you'll probably feel an instant surge of fear. And this is your body's built-in fight or flight mechanism, and it's designed to keep you alive. Anxiety can trigger the same fight or flight response. The difference is that there's no danger, at least not in the present moment. You could think of anxiety as a misfire of your fight or flight response because the fear is in the future, not in front of you. You don't need to fight for your life in the here and now. Your brain just thinks you do. With anxiety, you have all the symptoms you would have if you were literally fighting or running for your life, but you don't know why. Or you might know why, but you know it's not the rational response. So on top of feeling a surge of fear, you might also have this sense of guilt or embarrassment because logically, you know the response isn't necessarily warranted. What is the difference between panic attacks and anxiety? A panic attack can be a symptom of anxiety. A panic attack is usually more intense anxiety, but it's also short-lived. A person having a panic attack will be in visible distress. They might tremble, hyperventilate, or think they're having a heart attack. Many people experiencing a panic attack believe that they're dying or losing their minds. Does this sound familiar? It's not a fun feeling. What are the different types of anxiety disorders? Not everyone with anxiety meets the criteria for a disorder. If you are diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, though, it could be one of several different types. Generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, the most common type. Social anxiety disorder, SAD. Agoraphobia, specific phobia. Separation anxiety disorder, or selective mutism. Other disorders that may feature anxiety symptoms include post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, but they have their own categories in the DSM. This is a good place to pause and acknowledge that if you have an anxiety disorder, the tools and methods of anxiety relief we're about to discuss may not be enough to manage your symptoms. That doesn't mean that they won't help, they will, but when anxiety symptoms reach the level of a disorder, you may require additional support from a mental health professional. In these cases, therapy and sometimes medication may be recommended. What are some tools to tackle anxiety? Exercise. First up, and my personal favorite, is exercise. It sounds simple, almost too good to be true, but it's actually amazing what aerobic exercise can do for the body and brain. It's probably a lot more complex than you think, involving chemicals and neurotransmitters and all of that good stuff. I don't want to overcomplicate things here, but it's safe to say that exercise can decrease anxiety, both directly and indirectly. First of all, it's a great distraction from whatever it is that triggered your anxiety in the first place. Secondly, it releases muscle tension, which could be sending the brain distress messages and activating fight or flight mode. Belly breathing. Next on the list is belly breathing. I know what you're thinking. This is another technique that's just too simple to be effective, but trust me, it works. When you breathe slowly from your belly and not your chest, you're actually disrupting the fight or flight response that's accidentally been triggered. You're telling your brain that you're safe and calm and that it doesn't have to protect you from a threat. You're basically saying the threat is gone, all is well now. Belly breathing is a great tool to have in your anxiety toolbox because you can do it immediately as soon as you start to experience symptoms. It doesn't require any materials, and you can do it anywhere you happen to be at the moment. If you have a hard time breathing from your belly, try sitting in a chair and leaning forward. Place your elbows on your knees and start by taking a big breath. This position is good for beginners since it sort of forces your breath to come from your belly and not your chest. Nutrition. Okay, this is a fun one, especially if you like to eat like I do. The foods you choose to put in your body affects your brain directly. Some foods can trigger anxiety, while others form a protective barrier, so to speak. Recent studies suggest that high-fat diets can cause anxiety, for instance. Similar studies have suggested that high sugar and low protein diets should also be avoided by people prone to anxiety. Onto the foods you can eat. Experts often suggest foods high in zinc, magnesium, and antioxidants for anxiety defense. This includes leafy greens, berries, nuts, asparagus, and beans, for example. Sleep. Up next is sleep. Sleep can be a difficult one for people with anxiety since they tend to have trouble sleeping. This actually creates a cycle of anxiety and restlessness. Anxiety can interfere with sleep, and a lack of sleep can cause symptoms of anxiety, so it really is a double-edged sword. What I would encourage you to do is focus on your sleep routine. That means going to bed and getting up at the same time each day, avoiding screens before bedtime, and engaging in a relaxing activity before bed, like reading or meditation. If you're not already doing these things, trust me, you're going to see a big difference in how you feel. Social support. Last but definitely not least is social support. We are social creatures whether we like it or not. We need people around us, and not just any people who are emotionally available to support us. Whether you talk to them about your anxiety and your triggers, or you simply hang out together and have fun, this type of support can be a buffer for some of the anxiety you might be experiencing. If you don't have friends and family close by, use technology to connect or consider joining a support group. We've reached the end of the list for this video, but there are many more anxiety management techniques you can use. Some of these are featured in our video, What is Anxiety? A Guide to Manage Anxiety and Stop Worrying. I recommend you watch that one next. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive more content like this. Until next time, remember that you can take control of your anxiety. It doesn't mean you'll never have anxiety again. It just means you'll know how to handle it when anxiety strikes. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care of yourself.